Well, good morning, everyone. Well, welcome to 2026, you guys. So, way to start off by watching Arco. Honestly, I have never seen it despite interviewing the director from my previous videos. Yeah, I think it's time that I take a look at this movie and see what was the fuss is about. Currently, it's one of the most acclaimed animated films of the year. And I will say this, at least I interviewed the director first before it became more sensational. Although I first heard about it at Annecy and cons, all those festivals that happened last year. So, well, today, finally gonna watch it, you guys. Give up my thoughts very soon. Check out the Q&A and just relax, just say hi to Ugo again, I guess. He was pretty chill though the last time I saw him, but can't wait to actually see the movie and review it for this channel, you guys. What a great way to start the new year by this. By the way, you guys, it's kind of insane to say this, but I don't think it's going to be very packed today. Last time I checked, the reservation system is still open. Despite being one of the most acclaimed animated films of the year, I don't see anybody popping out for this, so yay, I'm going to be by myself. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad to see a few people popping up for this one, so I'm sure a lot of people will show up very soon. But it's just the reservation system is still open. It can be a little concerning to not show up more for indie films, but hey, that's how the industry is.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming out to today's screening of Arco, followed by a Q&A with the filmmaker, Ugo Bienvenu. Thank you so much to Neon for this free screening, and thank you to our EC staff, volunteers, and our members. Do you have any members here this morning? Fantastic. Well, thanks to y'all, we're able to bring fantastic filmmakers from all over the globe. We did a lot in 2025, and a lot more is going to be coming in 2026, so keep on coming. Before we get started, make sure you turn off your cell phone, keep all conversations to none at all, and stay on into your car at 12:31 p.m. and heading off the rest of your Saturday. Woo. All right, enjoy Arco.
Yeah.
I'm Leah Lowenstein from LA's Film Week and the LA Film Critics Association, and it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome Ugo Bienvenu, director of Arco. So, one of the things you've talked about so much with regard to this film is how you wanted to give an alternative view of the future, because you got this idea during COVID and it was a time when things were pretty pessimistic. And you decided that we can't really envision a positive future unless you make one, unless as an artist you make one. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that felt like to you to come up with a positive manifestation of the future?
In fact, I'm a science fiction writer. I do comic books since more than 10 years now in science fiction, and it appeared to me that in a way we were living in a bad science fiction movie or book, and maybe the science fiction was responsible in a way of what we were going through. And I thought, okay, as a science fiction writer right now, I think it's our responsibility to think about solutions and try to if we want better things to happen, we have to imagine them first. And as we know, everything human design exists in the world, so maybe it's our turn now to design better ways for us, and not relying only on numbers, but maybe relying on something else, which are emotions and feelings and cultures, and in order to make a world that suits us better for our bodies, for our minds.
It's a very, such a profound point. It's a very curious and sort of compelling juxtaposition. Tonight at the theater is playing Stanley Kubrick's, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which couldn't be a more different, sort of difficult view of the future. And it's such an interesting contrast with Arco, which has this hope and despair kind of in battle with one another.
But I think both movies talk about the same thing. It's about what what technology takes from us, from our humanity, and in Italian, imbecile, which means dumb, is a word based on like the one that doesn't use a stick, and a stick being the first technology. So technology since the beginning helped us like grabbing time from reality to think the world, to imagine things, to dream. And now technology inverse like can grab us time and take us the time we need to think, to dream, to even be bored, you know. And this time is really important, I think, and we should be careful about.
Yes.
About it.
Yeah, very much so. It feels to me like you're saying almost that we're at a crossroads, like a is that right?
Yeah. I feel like we're getting in a world of indifference. We're living in a world of indifference, and this is a danger. And one of the questions I think the movie asks is like, now the concept of things is replacing the actual things, the actual reality of things, the physicality of it, and I think it's one of our like, how to say, sorry, my English, I'm gonna get better, my English is gonna get better, but I just arrived from Paris, so yeah, it's one of the big issues of our era, you know. Like,
and also, you have these two futures. I want to talk to you about the two futures. There's the near future of 2075, which also looks so much like where we are now. We're not that far away from nanny bots and parents, you know, coming in by hologram, that kind of thing, and robots cleaning up after natural disasters, things like that, right? And then you have this further future, which is Arco's future, where the earth needs to heal and people have evolved or to learn a different way of relating to it, which almost has some elements of the far past with the mill, with the water, and interaction with nature, things like that. Do you see us, where do you see us on that path as humans?
I think it's not our point, like directors, to give our points of view. I don't like directors that do that. I just try to put elements like together, and so they can ask questions. And but I never want to say this is good, this is bad. For example, Mickey, which is embodying like AI today, he's allowing me just to ask questions and to say, are we okay going that way? And not showing only one side of the coin, you know. He's allowing his parents to give the best of the present for her daughter and boy, but at the same time he's grabbing them, he's allowing them to work far and not being there, not being present, but at the same time also like he's going to be the one that will save the kids, and at the same time he's saving the kid imitating an animal. So it's always, I always try to show the complexity of things and because things are not simple in the world, and I think in fiction we have to be careful not simplifying things too much, and show things on different sides here. And a lot of times people ask me if it was complex, like doing this world building, but to me, like Iris's world is exactly our world today. Like I feel it like this. I just like put it on the steroid forms on embryos that are already here, and in Arco, for Arco as well. I imagine like I like movies that use human unconscious, and in fact I was searching like where do we want to go since the very beginning of humanity, and in every text like based like the main text like Bible, like Kalevala, like a lot of also the Journey to East in China, there are gardens in the sky, and I thought, okay, let's use this strong image that we all have in humanity, and build something like build the far future on that very first idea of humanity, of what is a cool living, you know, like.
And my favorite scene is the one with Mickey in the cave with the cave drawings. I think that's like this incredibly moving scene, which is also a callback to the beginnings of humankind, right? So how history is still woven in, and that's the way that he ultimately saves the children, right?
Yeah, and what I like with this idea was saying that here is where robots can, I don't know how to say that, but become a bit human in a way. Is like what is making us humans is that we choose things in reality that are important. And at this moment, Nikki says to Iris, "You are important, and you are important." And that what moved me, like saying that we definitely have to not forget that our ability to make choices and to choose what is important for us.
And it seems to me also that Iris just craves human connection. She craves interaction with nature and human connection. She also would love to talk to the animals and so on. But these are things that she's starved of in her day-to-day life. She has this very sort of sterile existence in a way, which is kind of cool from an AI perspective, a class where she has, the entire universe over her head and is enmeshed in that world. But she wants to be part of the natural world. And there's something really lovely about that dynamic between them, because Arco represents the natural world from the future. It's very sweet. Tell me a little bit about, well, I know you talked so much about Natalie Portman's involvement, and she was absolutely pivotal to this, because you had this inspiration during COVID. You came up with the idea, you developed it, storyboarded it, and then you did an animatic, right? Tell us about that and how that got to Natalie.
Yeah. In France, nobody understood the script, and so it was really hard to finance it as based on the script and the storyboard, because nobody knows how to read the storyboard, and it's like that. And so it was really, and Felix and I decided to put all our money and hire 3 persons to work with me on animatics, and we decided to pass 1 year doing the animatic, the 4 of us. We had to do 4 to 6 shots a day in really rough animation, but it was really well animated, and so we could show the world what the movie could be, and we were doing also rough music and putting it on it, and also rough sound design. And after 6 months, we called our agent, Jamil Shamazin, who's working in LA, and he's also the agent of Natalie Portman. And he came to the studio, watched the first 45 minutes of the animatic, and said, "I definitely have to call Natalie, she has to watch this." Next morning she was in the studio, everybody was like, "Oh, Natalie's coming, Natalie's coming." And so she is, her and Sophie Mas, her partner, saw the animatic, and right after they told us, "What do you need?" And then it was, I think, because of the animatic and Natalie's presence, it went pretty fast, and then it took us 4 months to have the first money to launch the production, and then we were producing while making the movie. So it took us basically 2 years and a half to write the story and do the whole storyboard, and then 1 year to do the animatic, and then 1 year and 2 months to finish the movie with the team.
Which is really fast.
Yeah, the animatic was so clear that it helped us a lot.
So you showed it to Natalie. Natalie said to you, "What do you need? What can I do to help?" And that opened up all those doors, including to your voice cast of American actors.
Yeah. At that time, we needed a bodyguard for the movie.
Yeah.
Someone that could protect the very core of the idea, And so that's what Natalie and Sophie did. Help us keeping the purity and the fragileness of the movie, and then when we were in Canada, we sold the movie to Neon, and we needed to do the American version really fast. So Natalie called. I did a list of people I wanted to work with, and she called them, and we had everybody. So it was great.
One of the things that you've mentioned also is when you were envisioning this, the idea of the sort of natural disasters, including fires on that scale, that people who read it, who saw it, said that can't possibly happen, right? That's not.
Yeah, the forest, the fire in the forest. Everybody in 2021, everybody was saying, "Oh, it's a Deus ex machina. Fires don't happen like this." And we were finishing the frames of finishing the frames of the fire scene, and at the same time there was the fires in LA. So it's crazy. Also, it happened to me a lot when I was doing my books in science fiction. I was writing my story, and every time I was finishing my book, things were happening in reality. And so you definitely have to be super fast writing science fiction. and that's too bad. I did a comic book where Trump, the son of Trump, was a refugee in France. Because and he wasn't known in France at all, and he wasn't even yet going to be president. And after 6 months, like working on the comic book, like he went into the presidential campaign, and when I finished the book, he was president. So it goes really fast. It's called Paymark. It's not translated. And then I did another book called Preference System, which is now in America. And it was about memory and stuff, and there was a robot carrying a baby in his belly, and now like China can do it, and yeah, things are going so fast.
Incredible. By the way, this is Ugo's first feature film, which is pretty amazing, right? This is and deservedly getting a lot of acclaim for it. I also just wanted to ask one more question about, actually we didn't touch on yet, Arnaud Toulon, the composer, because I think his contribution is just so important here. The contrast between the sort of upbeat pastoral music in the scenes with Arco and his family and the sort of heavier, melancholy kind of section with On Earth in 2075. Can you talk about the choice of him and what he brought to the process and your vision for that?
Arnaud Toulon is a friend of mine since like 12 years, something like this, and he's really a close friend, and it's one of the persons I talked to at the very beginning of my project. And it was really hard to impose him on the production because we had a lot of really known musicians that wanted to do the music, but like more like techno, like more technological music, you know. And I was like, no, I really want like classical compositions. I want feelings with music, and Arno was the one, you know. And I know him. I know his feelings. I know what he brings in music. And it was hard to impose him, but I'm so glad we did, because now everybody's calling him. And he's, but sometimes you have to do hard choices and say no to crazy, like important people, in order to keep, like, to defend what you. And it was the same for November Ultra, the last song. Like I went to see her in concert. I was crying all the time, and I wanted her since the very beginning of the project. But I had so many names that I wanted to do this ending, like, and I had to say no. It's like, yeah, it's. I think we have to keep things, our intentions first, intuitions, like, firmly, because like the world is bringing you a lot of contrary winds, you know, and sometimes it's hard because also people that wanted to do the music at one time, I really love their work, and I would have loved working with it, but not on that movie and not like this. So you have to keep straight sometimes.
And now the doors will open for you, right? Well, like,
no, I'm gonna work with Arno anyway. Yeah.
There's a wonderful moment where,
Also finishing on Arno, what I like the most, we did that also on the team of animation. I prefer creating value than using value. And all the team were young people, the people that I found, because I'm a teacher in Gobelin, I'm a teacher in another school in France, and I like to bring value to people and not just using their value and for me, you know. And that's why I built in my studio Remembers. That's why I wanted it all in the same place in Paris and not in tons of countries, you know. And I wanted to meet everybody, to know everybody, and to have a daily life with them, not just giving them checks for work, you know. In the 14th.
in the 14th, okay. Well, actually,
And my studio is in the 20th.
your studio is
Yeah.
the 20th, that's right. But
We had like 3 places, like 5 minutes walking from each other, so I was searching all the time.
And I read that several of your students, your former students, came and worked on the film.
Yeah, most of them, like, I think on the 150 people that worked on the movie, like 125 were my students, so I knew them really well. And were my trainees also since like 10 years, so So yeah, the whole and I knew their personalities, so I knew how to put them together and how the energy could match. And a lot of my work was just also watching if human problems were getting in the studio, so I could cut them before they were getting, because human problems can become cancer for productions, and for small productions like this, because I mean, I hope you don't see it, but we did it for 100 millions less than the movies that we're, compared to. It was also a lot about speaking to humans and keeping this human place like in a good shape all the time.
Well, good lesson to film students to be to keep close to their instructors, right? To work together, because you might end up with a job.
No, but also, I mean, for example, Adam, the director of animation, I met him. He was 18, and then I was his teacher at Gauguin. Then he was my trainee. Then he was, when he was in vacation, I was hiring him and paying him like a professional. And when he got out of school, he became like a director in my studio. And when he began working on Arco, he was 23. So it's really young. But I knew, because he's so close to me, he's kind of I knew it was him. And kind of all the team was super young. And I also brought my old friends from when I was a student too. So there was a lot of love doing this movie.
What is the dynamic like with your former students? Do you ask them for their feedback? Do you ask them their opinions, or do you tell them what's the exchange like?
I give them a lot of room, but at the same time, because I think the more, I do a lot of things in my life. I'm an illustrator, I do comic books, I have a studio, I have a production company, I also have a publishing house, and most of the time people in France tell me, how do you do everything in one day, how many hours does your days last? And in fact, I do things when I want to do them. And so, for example, when I do an illustration, I think about the shot I have to do in animation, and when I don't know how to finish the illustration, I already know how to do the shots, so I do it, and it takes me 5 minutes. But if I had done it like, okay, I have to do this, it would have taken me like 5 hours maybe. So I do this 5 minutes animation, and while I'm doing this, accounting, I forgot. So I'm thinking about accounting, and then I finish the animation, I go on accounting, it takes me 2 minutes. And that's what I try to do with my animators too, is to give them not just one task, but a lot of tasks in a day, different tasks, so they never get bored, so they are always active. And also, I always tell them, that's why also I circle a lot in the studios, because like your position is important too. And often, when I get into the studio, I see people working like this, and then they tell me, I'm finishing late every night. So sometimes I come to the studio and I say, it's great, and then they come to me and they say, I'm not late anymore, and I'm in advance, So it's always about trying to find the good pace, the good way for everybody, and also the good energy, and bringing energy to everybody, and yeah.
Nice. Well, I think we're going to open it up for some questions. There.
In continuation of working with your collaborators, you said, I think, you worked with 4 storyboard artists, including yourself.
Yeah.
How did you keep...
The storyboard was already here.
Oh, yeah.
So they were taking the storyboards, not all the time, but most of the time they were taking my storyboards and just like doing a rough animation on it, It's more about fixing intentions that were in the book, but bringing them a little bit further, So every intention was in the animatic, and kind of most of the time animators were trying they were telling, we could do this, we could do that, look, it would be great, and I was like, yeah, it's great, but then I was thinking and showing them, okay, this is great, but after it gives that, great, and 5 minutes later, there's a problem because we brought a new intention, a new idea in the movie, and it breaks something after. So you fix something after, but it breaks something before. So you're always like, and the animatic helped us like fixing things, and then animators had to just push it a little further, but they couldn't change the intentions, and this helped us like going so fast and I think protecting all the intentions of the movie. And also, it was important for me to have these 3 collaborators because they are, as I said, I know them since they are so young and they know me by heart. They work for me like since 10 years. So I don't have to tell them a lot of things, so they know where I want to go, and it's going super fast.
Right there.
How did this idea begin, and how long did it take you to write and get it to be this?
The idea appeared in May 2020, and as I said, like the world wasn't going really well. I was like, I don't think it's gonna be better in the next years, you know. And I needed tenderness. I felt a lack of sweetness, tenderness in cinema, and I couldn't find like movies or books that were bringing me that. And I was like, okay, I think I have to do that. But I didn't. I began thinking about it from 2019, but I had nothing, you know, nothing came. And one day I drew a face getting out of the sky and just traced colors behind him, and Arco appeared like this. And it was, I didn't know why, but it was important for me. This image meant something. And then it took me like a few months to say, okay, I sent it to my partner Felix, I remember, with the co-founder of my studio, and he told me, you have to do a feature film with that because we need that. And he told me like, rainbows appear when it's raining and sunny at the same time, and it's magical, you know, and we need like that kind of magic and softness. And I wanted to also this movie to be kind of a hug for the world and for the audience that would see the movie. And I thought this could be a great project, and to put a lot of energy in it, you know, because when I did System Preference, my comic book, like I had 20 studios that wanted me to adapt this comic book, but also I wanted to have kids, and my previous work was really adult, and I wanted to have kids, and I was like, if I have kids now and they see my work, they read my work, they see my movies, they would be like, oh, Papa is so cynical, you know, and I didn't want them to think like this of their dad, you know, and I wanted to, yeah. Also, adults will often say, "Oh, kids will fix that," you know. But I think it's also our role to prepare things for them, and that was my way. Even I had 2 kids during the production, but since the very beginning of this movie, I was like, no, I'm going to do my best also to bring light to the world, because I think there's a lot of darkness right now, and it's easy to bring darkness. And also, science fiction is a lot about criticism, you know. It's a lot about testing systems to see if they work, and sometimes breaking them. And I feel like social media is also a lot about like trashing things, and I don't want to be part of it right now. I want to be part of the people that build sandcastles in the beach and not the ones that break them, you know. And I really definitely think now that building things, bringing light is harder, but it's our, and I want to take that part of the job, you know, and I think it's the most beautiful one.
So, my question is about the art style. When did you lock on to that sort of style of sort of cell shading animation along with traditional animation, and also, was there also computer animation in there too? Because it felt like a mixture of multiple animation styles in there.
In fact, I'm an illustrator since more than 15 years now. My style is kind of fixed, so I really wanted this movie to be my style. I work for a lot of magazines in France for Hermes. I do scarves for Hermes. I do tons of illustrations. I also direct short movies, music videos, documentaries since 15 years, so that's my style. I didn't search for a style, and I draw like this, I animate like this since the very beginning, and I just wanted, I didn't search for styles, a proper style, I had it, you know, and also all my team, all my studio, like I developed my studio around that, and there was no like actual, I had no team for pre-production was myself and I, you know, and was important for me also, because the movies I like in animation are the movies that are made and thought by one guy. I like to hear a voice. When I read a book, what I like is to hear a voice. When I see a movie, that's what I like. And often in animation, I feel like it's a lot of noise. You know, it's a lot of people deciding things, but at the end, I often feel like something not condensed. You know, and I don't know. I try to do I try to be in the family that the movies I like, and actually like Satoshi Kon, Miyazaki, and even some others, but mainly these, you know, because they are made by, thought by one person and brought to the world by one person, and that's what I like watching, what I like reading, and that's what I try to do.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah, the ending is pretty intense. I mean, Arco basically costs members of his family like 20 years of their life.
Or
It's
more,
brutal,
yeah.
right? But that's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty heavy cost. What was the thought?
There's a Latin phrase that says ex falso verum sequitur, from the wrong comes the right. And I love the idea of he's doing something wrong, and so we always pay the price when we do something wrong, always in life. And I think as directors, as storytellers, we have to say to our kids, things have cost, you know, when you do something, and also it's not about the movie, it's like, it's what we do that brings something in the future. Every choice we do will bring something in the future, so we have to think about what we do. And I think the movies I liked when I was a kid were the movies that were watching at me in the eye and not lying to me, and I definitely think that kids know when you're lying to them. And now a lot of animation for kids, I don't think they tell the truth always. There's a lot of sugar in it, and so everything's okay, don't worry. But they know it's not okay. And I wanted to take them seriously and to tell them, okay, this is the world we live in. But if you trust on imagination again, if you watch the world, if you live in it, if you have sensation, if you touch things, feel things, you can go through life. And I think also the role of fiction is to prepare people for what they will go through in life. And so when they are confronted in reality to a situation, they are emotion, because emotions are muscles, we have to train them as muscles. They are trained for that, and they don't fall in front of the situation. And I really think that we have to do this for our kids. But at the same time, what I wanted to say is that, like, parents will always say, it goes so fast, and it goes so fast. But the kids will never understand that. And so I really wanted to do a strong frame, a strong image to tell, so they could feel in them really deeply in themselves that, yeah, this time goes fast, and we have to enjoy the time we have here. We have to enjoy the time we have with the people we love. And also finishing on the climate change. Often climate change is told as something painful, you know, like, we shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. But it's a great occasion for humanity to fight together for something. And it could be a great adventure, and it could bring us a lot of joy and happiness doing something together, sharing things together, and not just, you know, so yeah.
Thank you so much. We go from the darkness of Poe became the light of Arco, right?
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you guys, so I finally watched Arco for the first time though, and yeah, it's hard to explain how great it is because, well, you gotta go see it, you guys, because it's so damn colorful. The themes about environmentalism, the future, really well made. The characters are great. I like the little girl, Evis, trying to pronounce her name, and Arco himself. Really were good characters. They were really kids characters, I will say. So yeah, it's been great though. So the version I watched was actually the English dub, which surprisingly has a lot of amount of recognizable people that I know, like Flea from Hot Chili Peppers, Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg. They were playing the comedic trio in that movie. Natalie Portman and Mark Ruffalo were in it, voicing the robot in that movie. So this is kind of impressive that they managed to be such a independent feature, to get some recognizable names. I mean, that's really impressive for a movie that took 5 years to make at least. So yeah, I mean, most animated films take about a few years though, but in general, since it is an independent feature, it's impressive they managed to get that amount of people to work on this. So yeah, Arco, since sadly I didn't see it at Animation is Film, I'm glad I finally watched it. I'm glad I finally watched it, guys. So if you still want to see the interview with the director, I'll just link it somewhere on the description and everything. But overall, please go see it, you guys, because it is really that great. So yeah, I don't know when it's gonna have an official release everywhere, because it's still not released anywhere in the country nationwide. But I will say that in speculation would be by the end of the month, around Oscar season. So very likely that this film could be nominated for Best Animated Feature. I don't know, but I'm just glad I saw it though. So I will say this though, it is currently nominated for Golden Globe for Best Animated Film as well with the other animated films we see this year. So overall, I highly recommend it, you guys. Please go see it. It's worth watching on the big screen, I will say. And it's raining. I don't have an umbrella. I have such bad luck on this. So yeah, I'll be heading out now, and we'll start the new year already. So that means more Oscar season stuff that I'm gonna do later throughout the time. And then review a lot of films coming out in the spring, summer, fall, all that. So this is gonna be a huge year for animated films. It's gonna be a huge year for cinema in general. So I will be covering as much as I can for this year. That's my New Year's resolution this year, is just to make sure that I've seen as much movies as I can, because seriously, you guys, I really do need to watch more movies. It's like inspiring me to become a better filmmaker, at least. For now, I'm not really necessarily the best filmmaker, but I'm trying, you guys. So overall, you guys, that'll be it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to comment, subscribe, or whatever to help me get some attention from this platform. So overall, thank you guys for watching again, and trying to find a way to stay dry. So you guys take care, okay? Goodbye.